Good morning and welcome to Mentor Monday. And today we have a treat for you. Donna's with us today. So Donna's got a treat for us today because she's going to teach us some things about email marketing. Well, that's something that we need to know. We need to know. I need to know more of that. So I'm looking forward to this. So we're just going to turn it over right now to Donna, and welcome to everyone that's here on the podcast and to everyone that will see the replay. And we're looking forward to, I always go back and watch the replays because, the first time you don't always get everything. So we have lots of great replays in the community. Go watch some. Hey, when you just need something to listen to instead of listen to all the bad stuff, listen to the good stuff that will help you along your way. So with that in mind, Donna, take it away.
Oh, thank you. I have a small PowerPoint presentation just to use so that, just to reinforce. Okay, email marketing. So I do want to say before I even start that this is basic email marketing. And there's plenty I don't know. I do know a lot about it. I've been using email marketing for 15 or 20 years now, perhaps, in various capacities. So this is just going to be a basic overview of email marketing. And I know that there are lots of people who know much more than I do. So, but at the end, we will have time for question and answers, and hopefully I can help you with some of that. Something I learned early on is that we need faithful followers of our business and our ministry, whatever that happens to be. And that, some of the, and they were going to expect, these followers are going to expect that we're going to keep in touch with them in some way. In the old days, you would write them a letter or send them a card in the mail, or maybe you pick up the phone. But when you get up in hundreds and even thousands of followers, which is really what the market sort of demands anymore, it's a much more difficult to keep track that way. Another iteration of that in the beginning was newsletters and desktop publishing. And so you'd produce a newsletter and you'd mail it out to folks, and they'd get it, or it would come back to you because they moved and forgot to change their address or whatever. But now what we're talking about here is email marketing, which is like a newsletter that shows up in folks' inboxes. So that's that's the subject today, okay? Something else I learned early on is that other people in your same industry are not always our competition. I learned early on as an author, I couldn't write enough books to keep my readers happy. And so I made it a point of promoting authors who wrote similar kinds of books to mine, because I knew that that's what my readers like to read. And I knew that they would always come back to me. So whatever business that we're in, if we're coaching in some niche within that industry, or whether it is ministry that we're promoting, just keep that in mind. Now, sometimes they are your direct competition, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to service every single person out there who has the need that you meet. And sometimes it's a personality thing, that, you just don't click or whatever. So don't ever be afraid to make a referral, even in your newsletter, or to promote or talk good about somebody else in your industry. And then always like to keep politics out of any contacts that you have with your subscribers or followers. That's also a smart thing within your social media, although I don't always subscribe to that. I do. If somebody, posts something and I agree with it, I like to let them know I agree with it. Number one, it's an encouragement to them and it helps their algorithms. Then it will also share that with my followers. And honestly, I don't mind weeding some people out. And I do that fairly consistently. I try not to blast people. I talk more about the issue as opposed to the person, if that makes sense. And we'll see that even within your newsletter. It's always better. You talk really well about people, but if there are issues that you don't agree with, there's nothing wrong with saying your mind on that. So reaching these faithful followers because they're out there everywhere, right? And that is the key thing. And newsletters, it's through email, and it's great. It's the only real estate that you really own. You know, you might have tens of thousands of followers on social media. You might have be involved in a group that posts regularly, say, to a particular blog. I belong to one, and we have like 100,000 readers a year. But I don't own that list. That belongs to the blog list of the group that I'm in. And I can't promote my services or my books or anything else to them. It belongs to somebody else. So the only real estate you really own is your email list. And that is important because, let's be serious, Facebook could be gone tomorrow. I'm not saying there's any trouble, so don't take that as a prophecy in any way. But it could be. Or, I mean, we saw it, right, with Twitter, that is now X or whatever it is. But these social media platforms come and go. Or they also start to weed people out by putting a fee on certain services that they offer, right? Facebook could start saying, okay, no more free platforms. Now you have to pay a monthly or yearly subscription fee or whatever. And if you're not willing to pay that, if you're not getting the coverage, if you're not getting the feedback and the promotion by Facebook or Twitter, well, X or Instagram or whoever it is that you're using, then you might feel, well, that's not worth the money. So now all of your followers are gone. It will be really hard for you to recreate that list. Now you can, or at least you used to be able to download a list from Facebook and save that of your followers. I don't even know if they allow you to do that anymore. So newsletter really is the best way. I highly recommend that you don't try to keep track of all of these people yourself, that you use some kind of an online aggregator that's a platform that will collect the names and the emails and the permissions for those folks who are following you. And we'll get into a little bit later on how you find these people. But so use an aggregator. And I have some references at the end, but I use Mailchimp because they will collect that information for you for free. If you want to use them to create your newsletter and send it out, there is a fee for that. But there are options to that as well. But as long as all you're using them for is to create or to collect the information, they'll do that for free. And you can create a form that you could put on a website. And then people will fill in that form and the information goes to Mailchimp. Okay. You want to be consistent with your newsletter. We'll talk a little bit about the consistency, but you do want to be consistent, even if it's an irregular consistency. But readers or followers of your newsletter, they'll want to hear from you. Some, maybe let's just give us an example. If your newsletter is mostly about ministry and the things that are going on within the ministry, even every couple or 3 months, once a quarter might be enough for that. But if it's about things that are happening on a more consistent basis, or if you're making appearances around the country somewhere, or you're on a podcast and you want your readers to know that, you're going to want to connect with them more often. I think you can connect too often. I was receiving a newsletter at one point. I was getting it every week, and I finally had to unsubscribe because they weren't really saying anything new. There was no news, and they could have done it once a month probably. But and some of it is it's going to have to be in line with the promise that you make to your subscribers. If you say you're going to send out a quarterly newsletter, then you better do that. Not do it weekly or monthly, and don't do it annually. You want to do it quarterly. Now, so when I originally started doing newsletters, I was using it was for my fiction writing, and there was me, and I had a pseudonym as well. I had historical readers that I was reaching, and my pseudonym was reaching the contemporary readers. So I approached my newsletter and said it would be a bi-monthly, bi-monthly, every 2 months. So I would send a newsletter 1 month, and my pseudonym would send a newsletter the next month to a different audience, slightly different audience, because some people were on both lists, and that was fine. Eventually, I decided that my pseudonym was going to retire on a beach somewhere warm, and because it was like double the work for me to be able to keep up that. So what I did was I contacted the people on both of my lists and said, now you're going to get, everybody will get a list for or a newsletter from me every month. So I'm switching it over to monthly, and I didn't have anybody complain, and nobody unsubscribed as a result of that. So that worked fine. But so you can change it, but you do want to give them a little bit of notice. I would suggest you include others in your niche or your industry, or even a complementary niche or industry that you admire. Include their products and promotions in your newsletter. You could, what I do is I tend to, if I'm in, because I am in several writers groups, and every couple of months, I send out I put an email on their loop and say, if you'd like to have your book featured in my newsletter, let me know what month you want it in, and send me, and I tell them what to send me. And I keep it simple because I don't, want to get 40 books with, 10 pages of information, each one that I've got to edit down or whatever. And I keep it, everything is consistent. Even though I say I feature your book, it's not like you get a spotlight on you, but you're in my newsletter. And so you can do the same if you know people who offer similar or complementary services. Could be something even completely different. So even if it's a ministry, let's give an example. Let's say you run a ministry, you want to do a newsletter, and it's about sex trafficking. But you know of a friend who runs a ministry, and it's about training and equipping women, just like Daughters United. Well, similar, but not quite the same, but you could easily include both of those in the same newsletter. You do want to keep it simple, and I use a simple design program that my web host provides, but they're all very similar. It's much like the WordPress blog. You drag the widget over and things like that. You can put in pictures and you can edit your text and so on, but I don't have any moving parts in it. Everything is static. And then I always like to offer a free gift every month, at least one free gift. And if I'm involved in other free promotions, then I like to also offer them that with the link to that. Folks love to get free gifts, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. So where do you find subscribers to your email newsletter? Well, if you're on a Facebook event, then you can always you can include a link for them to go and sign up, usually a link which would be on the form on your website. So that can be part of one of your posts. You can also do it at a paid event, for example, and you can do that by drop your business card in this little fishbowl here. I'll enter you in a drawing for a free blank and add you to my newsletter subscriber list. Or you can make up a form and you can pass it around if it's in a room in a virtual or a real class, a live class. Just pass it around the room if you're the speaker or a speaker, such as in author events or speaker events. You can do that. So, and then online events, you can, again, much like the Facebook events, you can have a contact at the end. You can have a place where they can click. You can offer something free in exchange. With my newsletters, because it's mostly for readers, I offer them 2 free ebooks when they subscribe to my newsletter. And then I was fulfilling that myself, in that I would get the email when they subscribed, and then I would email it back out to them, the PDFs. But now I got it set up such that when they sign up for my newsletter, then the next screen that comes up, I've got it kind of set up, like through one of my websites, so that the next screen comes up and says, here, download your books here. So that makes it a lot easier. Plus, I was always sending out the 2 books. It was a historical and a contemporary one. And now they can choose. Maybe they don't like contemporary and they wouldn't ever read it anyway. So they could choose to download just the historical or just the contemporary or both. Podcasts and stages, any kind of a podcast or a stage where you get the opportunity again to speak in front of people, you can offer them the link and offer them something for free. And that can be, depending on what your business or ministry is, it could be a PDF, a checklist, a cheat sheet, we'll call it. It can be an excerpt from a book. It could be an article you've written specific to your business or your industry. It could be a calendar, a prayer calendar if it's a ministry, or even if it is for your business, but it can be a prayer calendar that would be common prayer requests, that, asking for God to bless the business and the efforts and the people who are joining and so on. What you want to include in your newsletter, because I am a believer in Jesus, I like to include a devotional at the very beginning of it, or something inspirational, maybe that happened to me that month, and then I link it back around to give the reader something, the subscribers, something to think about. And then quite often I'll ask them a question right there at the end of that where they can enter to win a free book. All right. And so, depending on the time of year, it could be a story from my childhood that I link back to, how God is moving even today in that situation, or how, do we worship? Recently I had one and I had found a picture of a camera, and it was one like my dad used to use when we were kids. And so I talked about him and taking pictures. And I said, sometimes we spend our time hidden behind cameras and we don't see the world out there, especially if we're on vacation or whatever. And then also, but then, are we worshiping the creator, or are we worshiping creation? And, just something to make a subscriber think. I like to include my news if I have any, if I'm going to be on a podcast or I'm going to be appearing anywhere. Or if there's something coming up, if we're going to travel, and then the next month I like to fill them in on what the travel part, or if I want them to pray for me, if I'm going to ask them to pray for me for a health concern or something, then I'll put that in there too. Upcoming events and online appearances, and of course that would need to change every month. Some things would stay the same because maybe you speak consistently for a particular group. But like for my October one, I've got to put in, I just booked I'm going to be speaking online for a writers group here in Colorado. So I'll put that on there and they can probably join that group, or, and then, opportunities for the subscribers to connect. This is something really important. So I always like to include within my devotional a place for them. Click here to answer this question. But also I have a birthday club where anybody who wants to give me the month that they were born and their mailing address, I will send them a card with a little bit of love in them. And so I do that. And I have about 125 people on my birthday list right now per year. And then I also send out a Christmas card as well to the same people. And they love it. And every birthday card that goes out, well, it has either a Bible for their birthday donated, or at Christmas, I donate scripture kind of in a bulk donation. It also has a business card in it. So think about that. When you're doing physical contact with people, every physical contact should have your business card in it. And also in the birthday card, I like to put a little something. I made earrings one year, and I would send out kind of themed earrings. Another year I sent out like a 2-year calendar, something that fits in a card envelope and doesn't increase the price of mailing too much. Now I send out, I have a little, it's like a 4x4 a notebook. And it'll say like believe or dream or create or something, cute like that. So you can buy those in bulk from lots of places online. You know how many you have on your list, allow for a little bit of growth. And I do that like at the end of the year, I'll buy now for next year. I also like to have the question of the month, which I will repeat further down in the newsletter after I've shown my books and other people's books. So I do the devotional, my news, upcoming events. I actually have these in the opposite order. I put other people's books and events. And if I have anything related, like if I have a book sweeps or a book funnel promotion that I'm part of, I'll include that. Or other promotions, and you'll see some of the others that I get involved in. And then I also have a street team where I invite folks to join me to get free ebooks and then to promote them, to read them and leave a review online, which is gold, to talk to them about their librarian, maybe get books in the library, maybe to ask about if they're in a book club, to see if that book can be included for a particular month. And also talk about it on social media, talk about it if they have a blog. A lot of people do have blogs. And so, just get them to talk it up. And so it might not be a book for your street team. It could well be an event. If you've got an event coming a couple of months down the road, ask folks to join your street team. And you might, include sending them a free copy of, if you have a book that you're going to promote at that event, or even if you just have like an excerpt type thing or a pamphlet or whatever, but send it to them. And then always think about after the fact, especially for an event, because usually that's a longer buildup and requires a little bit more help on their part. You also think about sending them. It could be an e-gift, like an Amazon card or a Starbucks e-card, or some kind of a little, or a physical gift card. I just ask them for their mailing address. And folks love to get stuff in the mail. They love to get birthday cards, so they're not usually too nervous about sending you that information. And especially if you treat it right, you don't deluge them with advertising. For my birthday club, I never send them anything more than the birthday card and the Christmas card. And I haven't, and I also send those internationally. I've had people sign up for the birthday club and they've said, well, I live in Australia, so you probably don't want to send one there. And it's like, hey, I have about 10 on my birthday club list that I send a card to through the year that are international. So it costs me $1.50 or $1.75 or something, but it's okay because they're still faithful. They're faithful readers. So the next question would be, where can you host? Where do you host your newsletter? So I would suggest you check with your own web host provider. Mine, for example, I use Ionis. They do have what they call online marketing, which is basically a email newsletter module. And I pay like $4 a month for up to 10,000 at a time. And I don't have that many followers. I have around 5,000. And so just check with your own web host provider, because they're going to probably provide it cheaper. And if you don't have one through your web host, then you might look at some of these others. I did look up just before I had prepared this to see like what were the top recommended newsletter host sites. Some of these are paid. Some of them are free for like less than a certain number. Some are free for 500 or less a month. Some are free for 2,000 or less a month. But Constant Contact is one that that was number one in this particular Forbes magazine article. Brevo and HubSpot, 1, 2, and 3. I know about MailerLite, and I have heard some problems with MailerLite. It's got a steeper learning curve. And of course, there's also Mailchimp, which I didn't put on the list here. And I believe right now that they are free up to 2,000 addresses. Now, the trick with Mailchimp, and maybe it's the same with the others, but I know this about Mailchimp. Let's say you have 3 email lists and they each have 800 people on the list. Maybe there's some overlap, but any one time you're going to send out a newsletter, it'll only go out to 800 people. they add all your lists together and they'll charge you as if you're sending out 2,400 emails. So that was why I stopped using Mailchimp. It got really expensive really fast because I had 2 lists. I had about 4,000 subscribers on 2 lists. I never sent out more than 2,000. So it was a little under 4,000 actually. Never sent out more than 2,000, which they said was free up to 2,000, but they were charging me. And so it was costing me like $85 a month at that time to send out a newsletter. And I was doing that every month, basically, when I was doing with with myself and my pen name. So I would recommend you check them out. Some have a free trial period. The thing I've learned with free trials is don't sign up for it until you're ready to invest the time to learn how to use their system, because 7 days goes by really fast. And from the time you sign up till your 7 days is up to check it out, if that's what they have, you may not get really a chance to go in and check that out. So save it for when you really got your brain in gear and you're ready to start learning. We did talk a little bit about how often to send out. Not too often, obviously, that you turn people off and they're just spamming you. Because you will get reports with most of these providers of newsletter platforms, and they don't like it when you get a lot of them that end up in spam or that are hard bounced or even soft bounced. But you don't want to do it too infrequently. Then people are like, oh, really? Did I sign up? I don't remember signing up for that. I'm going to, unsubscribe. You want to know your audience, and you want to know, these might be your best friends and your cousins and your mom and your aunt. But even they probably don't need to hear the same thing from you every week, right? So you want to always change it up a little bit. I found monthly is good. I don't get people unsubscribing saying I'm getting it too often. And it makes me have to think ahead to the coming month to make sure I have anything in there that I want to include, like a promotion, say that's coming up the end of September. Well, my newsletter went out early in September, so I have to already have that in there. I used to send out like the last day of the month, but I have heard from people that Friday works well, and I have found that myself. I send it out on a Friday early, like I have it set up to go out at like 3:30 Mountain Time. So it goes out early. It gives readers the weekend to work their way through it. And I get a lot of, probably, 10 or 15, 20 responses right away on the Friday. And then over the weekend, more and more dribble in. And that's good. So I know they've been reading it over the weekend. And that's what a lot of people do. They'll look at their non-work related emails on a Saturday and a Sunday. So that's been my experience. But you'll want to test the market, see when you get the most responses. So if a lot of your folks are international subscribers, then maybe later in the day works better for them because it's, later in the day for them, wherever they are, or they'll see it first thing the next morning. It's always nice, in there for like your Friday, Saturday, Sunday readers. You can always offer a time-limited freebie to encourage them to read right away. And you can put that right at the beginning. Hey, read this right away, got some exciting news, and you could win blank, whatever it is. You might do that even with a small amount of a gift card, will encourage people to read it sooner and enter for that on the chance that they might win. But then you get to see, when do people read it? And it does encourage that. But the most important thing is to do what you can do without stressing. We hear this all the time, move at the pace of peace. And if monthly right now sounds like, oh, especially when you're starting to create something, used to take me about 2 hours. Now I've worked it down to, I don't change out all the books every time that are in my newsletter. But it takes me an hour or so. I do find that my web host provider's system is a little more friendly than Mailchimp's was to me. And so, because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Mailchimp had. So I wasn't tempted to try and add in bells and whistles. And I have people who read on their phone, on their tablet, and on their computer. And so you keep it simple, and it makes it a lot easier to read on almost any device. My web provider does let me, I can look at it and see how it will look on each of those devices. I don't do that every time because I kind of have an idea. But it really is about do what you do best. Because do you love designing stuff? That's great. Newsletters are for you. Just don't make it too complicated for slow computers and slow phones, because not everybody has the latest and greatest smartphone. Do you hate designing stuff? Great, because most of these platforms already have this built-in widget system of you click and drag, to have a picture put in there, you click and drag to type in your text, and you can easily format it and stuff. But use the tools that they offer, and don't try to, go beyond that. I don't look to download any new widgets. There's enough on my web provider. They do enough. I use stock photos, and I just say, all photos courtesy of blank, whoever you use. I use Pexels, pexels.com, and I'm satisfied with that. It's a free service. As long as I give them attribution, they're okay. You want to make the font big enough to read easily on any size device, and especially depending on your followers, your subscribers. If you have elderly people, make it a little bigger, because you don't want them to not be able to read it. Think about the colors. Think about if you're going to bold something, which is good sometimes, especially if you have a link. If you want them to click here, and you embed the link so that the whole link is not there, then you want that to stand out. I usually bold it, put it in red, and underline it so it's right there. But you really just want to share your message and connect and encourage and inform your followers. And if you can do all of that within your newsletter, then that's a good thing. Give away something often as you can. Give away as much as you can without breaking the bank, obviously, and without, going overboard. Share your news, because folks love to celebrate with you. Be transparent. Some of the kindest emails I've ever gotten have been from subscribers when I've shared something going on, and they pray for me, and then they'll tell me of a situation they went through like that I didn't even know about. And then of course share others' news and their books, or whatever their product is, because you can't provide enough for the whole world, and even for all of your subscribers. So here are some of the events that I subscribe to. Now, most of these are books. Now, but if you have a book, these are all Christian. Book sweeps and book funnel aren't, but I do join specifically the Christian promotions. But these are author events. So if you have a book, these are great. Celebrate Lit has one every month. And I always get subscribers, and it's like $20, and they provide all the graphics and the verbiage. So, wow, I love it. Maria Henriksen does a couple of these a year, and she's usually looking for fiction, but sometimes she'll even accept nonfiction books, devotional books and stuff. Sarah Haymaker, the same thing, and I think she charges $20, and it's a month-long thing. The book sweeps for authors, you can click on that and you can see they have multiple promotions a month. And of course, Book Funnel is one that you can set up your own with Book Funnel, and I think with book sweeps, but with Book Funnel for sure. If you get a group of authors or a group of coaches or whatever that you're going to promote a book through, they're another great one to be able to sign up, and they do a lot of that design work and stuff for you. And then here's just a few more of the newsletter aggregators. I did talk about Mailchimp and MailerLite. Do check your website provider to see if they have an email marketing, or sometimes they call it online marketing module. And then this is the link for the article from Forbes magazine about the top email marketing tools. And that's where I got that ConvertKit and Brevo and MailerLite and so on. So some of them I'd heard of ConvertKit before. Okay, social media, there's lots of choices, but if you want to join groups on Facebook, I would suggest you focus on 2 or 3 at the most, and then find some like-minded people within those groups, and then start inviting them to participate with you, even to do like can you would you like to feature your service in my newsletter? The thing about newsletters is you're going to start small, and you'll have maybe your first newsletter will go out and it might only be to 10 people, but that's okay. You can always put in your newsletter, if you know somebody who'd be interested in receiving this, here's the link for them to go over and sign up. So first, you're going to want to find your aggregator to create your form, to put it on your website so that they got a place to go. That's your very first step with email marketing. Before you even think about finding people to subscribe to your newsletter, you need to have a place where they can sign up. And then there's some writing conferences that I have here that if you are a writer and you go, like Write His Answer is a great one right now. It's a virtual, but it's fiction and nonfiction. And some of these are just fictions, but Mount Ford Writing, it also has a list of writing conferences. And this list at the bottom, the book publicist has a list of writers' conferences that are often looking for speakers. So there's the opportunity to speak, have your book in the bookstore sometimes. Some of them are virtual, some of them would be in person. So I encourage you to look around you. Think about not just in-person groups around you, but always, lots of times there's groups at churches that are looking for speakers to come in. And there would be groups at recreation centers that would be, looking for speakers and so on. So expand your thought process of where you might even start. But those in-person are really good. I usually get half or more of the room to sign up at a in-person event, because now they've seen you and heard you and met you. And even if they never buy your product, but they subscribe to your newsletter, you get to talk about whatever your product, your industry, your niche is. And then if you do write books and you're looking for a literary agent, these are a couple of good sources for literary agent, and that would be fiction or nonfiction. Okay, so do we have any questions from anybody about sort of the ins and outs of newsletters? You're muted, Renee.
Better to be seen than heard. That's what I used to hear when I was little. I think that's why I like to talk so much. No, I wanted to ask you, when you have your lead magnet or whatever it is, how you get your addresses, do you get a physical address for the cards at the same time, or how do you actually move from an email address to a physical address?
So I do that through the birthday club. That's the only time I ever ask for a physical address.
Okay. So
and
people actually just sign up for the birthday club.
So, period. Right. So the newsletter would come out to folks, and in it, I have a little section about the birthday club and telling them what I need, the date of month, your date of birth, like your month of birth. I don't ask for the date and year because that can be creepy. Just that I only need the month. Although a lot of people give me the whole thing because they're so used to writing that, and then I ask for their mailing address there.
Okay.
They will email me. I have a place where they can click to send me that information. And then it comes to me in an email. And then I add it I have a spreadsheet sorted by month. And then I just say, you're in the club, and I like to, if my email comes out, the first part of it came out last Friday, the 5th, or no, it came out on the 12th, sorry, the second Friday of the month. And so if somebody responds and says my birthday what is September? Well, I've already got my birthday card sent out for September, but I would make sure to send one to them.
Extra.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's a good question.
Rebecca, you have any questions?
I did write some down.
Okay.
At the end, you had literary agents on the screen really, really fast, and there was no way I could write it. Are you able to put that screen back for just a moment?
There you go.
Yay! Okay. Readseed.com. Okay. And then literaryagencies.com, Christian literary agents. Okay.
Yes.
Literary. Okay. Yeah, so I had a question. You used a lot of terminology I've never heard, so this was good because I felt like a student. And a lot of times when I'm working as a leader, people say, whoa, you're talking Greek to me. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I don't even know what I said. So now I've got to experience what they experienced. So thank you for that. Place of humility. You talked about a street team. I've never heard that. What is a street team?
Okay, so a street team is like a launch team, but not always
Okay.
just about a book launch, which that's how it's usually used.
Okay.
So a street team is someone who'll promote your stuff, whatever it is, on the street, which really just means that they'll promote it, like out there in the world, in their sphere of influence. They'll talk about it at
Okay.
church or, yeah. So that's why, I guess that's why it's called a street team. That's what I've always
I
called
like
it.
that.
Yeah. And then it's not limited then to launch team. And I recently, it's interesting. I've been, I've been on social media and so, connecting with people. When somebody says to me, well, I'm not a writer, because I offer coaching services to writers and people who want to write. And if they say I'm not a writer, I'm only a reader, I'm like, hey, you are gold. Would you like to be on my street team? So it's been interesting that lately I've kind of been focusing on that. So, and I like to lay it out, how, you can help me you can leave a review or, mention it at your book club or mention it on social media or talk it up with your friends, or talk to your librarian and get the books, right? There's lots of different ways. And I don't expect any one person to do all of it, although some will try and do it all, and that's fine. Most people are satisfied to read a book and leave a review. But I've had a few who've said, sure, when does your book release? I'm like, no, these are older books, so they just need a little extra love and attention right now. So it's not a book launch. It's just keeping the books. When you have more recent reviews online, people pay more attention to that than if your book came out 5 years ago and you don't have any reviews in the last 5 years, right? It's yeah. So did you have some more questions, more terminology?
Why is it better? Okay, hold on. I think I was able to catch up most of it, but why is it better than just sending an email? I know to have a hosted, what did you call it? A newsletter's host site or
right.
That kind of, obviously the thing I do know about, because I studied this a little bit with Constant Contact, is like it'll even tell you what parts of the newsletter people, like a heat map, so they know which parts are. So I know there's parts of that, but and maybe it's the design. I'm just curious because with my amount of time, I was going that direction, and then I was like, I can just send an email and put a photo in right in Gmail. Like I kept it simple. Which is do what you can do, but also I want to know for future, what the benefit is, or when do you feel that becomes necessary or a benefit? I guess that would be a better way to ask that question.
So sometimes with just a simple email going out of your inbox, your email provider, whoever that is, might detect it as being spam, especially if you have links in
Okay.
it. So there's that. You also need to, these people give you permission to send them email. Usually that's the only permission they've given you, right? So you want to be careful how you send it out, that nobody's email address is visible to anybody else, right? So you need to put that somehow in your BCC. And with legally speaking, with anything that people subscribe to, there has to be a way for them to unsubscribe without having to reply to you. So if you just send an email, unless you have an unsubscribe button that is linked to your whatever platform you're using to collect those addresses, you're not following the law. And of course they want people to be able to unsubscribe without having to actually email you to unsubscribe, just to avoid any awkwardness or any feeling that they might have that you are going to argue with them, or that they are going to hurt your feelings. Right. And so, yeah, that's the main reasons, not to mention the fact that, yeah, we are also, we're so video driven now. When I say video, I mean, oral, visually driven, that we don't want to read, an email that's this long. We'd rather see that broken up with pictures. And so, yeah, sometimes it can be hard. And sometimes those pictures themselves can show up like, or they can feel like spammy to your email provider, and they won't even send them out, or they'll feel like spam to the person coming that is receiving it, to their email provider, and they'll just get chunked in spam or not even get delivered. So yeah, through a reputable online platform, that's why it gets used that way. But that's a good question.
Very good.
I have one on that note too. So usually with I have two different things going. Well, I have lots of things going in my life, but I have a small business, which is very small. It's more on the hobby level, but it does, I do love it. And all of my things are in the creative sphere, but that's more scrapbooking, card making, that type of thing. I'm with Stampin' Up right now, because my company closed. So I switched over to Stampin' Up, but had that group of ladies that are creatives. It's not necessarily a Christian group. So that's like my outreach, because those people become like family. I host 2 retreats a year. It's very part-time, but but those people are very important to me. So I have that group of people. And then I have the whole organization that I run, which is a nonprofit. And so for both of those, I use mostly free services. Like I use Blogger. I've never tried to do WordPress or learn something new. I just use what's out there free. But of course, things change. And some things get frustrating. And one of the things that was frustrating, I don't know if it was a change for GoDaddy or for I can't even remember how it went, because, it's been a lot of years. I've done both these things for around 20 years. So I don't remember when, but I know that they changed from giving me a complimentary address with my email address with my site to now I have to subscribe into that. So I'm at a place with both of ours that we just use a Gmail address. And I know that does not look professional, but these are small things. So I don't know how much it matters, I guess. I just wondered if you wanted to speak to that, because in both of these things, they're not really big income producers. Our nonprofit really struggles financially. We're still not well supported by the community. It's not like we have money to put out, although $5 a month is not that large, not that big a deal. I maybe don't need to. But if I look at my budget line and I times it by 12, I'm like, oh, I don't even know. These are not big money driven things. We need more income. Is that a barrier to us getting, like, either my business? Like, do you think it's more of a barrier? Do you think there's a tipping point where it becomes necessary? Because you don't have to look professional if you're not trying to reach 3,000 people, right? Like, these are small local things, but is it blocking income streams, or I just wondered if you could speak to that issue, because right now we are at gmail.com. All of our addresses are just at Gmail because of, like I said, it used to be that I had at my website. Now they're charging us for those.
Right. And so you're using GoDaddy, right?
I'm using GoDaddy, yes.
And do they not provide, or is that who wants to charge you $5 a month now for an email
Mhm.
address? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
GoDaddy.
it may be, yeah, I think it may even be less than that.
Right.
It may even be $2.99 or something, but for some reason I thought it was a lot higher. I thought I had to subscribe into a higher level altogether, like 20-ish a month. And then I realized, oh, I think I maybe could just do my email address that way. But anyway, I lost that. I had simplyscraphappy.com, Rebecca at scrapbooksimple.com. I had that for years. That was my address. And then
Yeah.
it just stopped coming to me. They didn't even tell me. GoDaddy did not even tell me that they changed it. So people were emailing me and I wasn't even getting them, but it's another whole story. But
Yeah.
you know how tech changes and they just expect you to keep up with it. And I didn't
Right.
even know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there, like you said, there are different levels. And I think a Gmail address is probably fine because you're kind of on a smaller scale with both of these, and they're not really like an overlapping group or anything. There may be some overlap, but and it's not a huge number of people. So, and honestly, Gmail is one of the free email options.
Right.
I think Gmail is one of the more respected and more used.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Now, like because we have a web provider through Ionis, and we have several different websites. The email addresses come with that. It's an exorbitant number of email addresses, but that you can have for each website that you host with them. But they're not cheap.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Kajabi, that it's another pretty popular one. They also provide an email address. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Especially when it's ministry related.
Okay.
People will, I think people can be really critical of giving to a ministry that has a fancy website, because they're thinking, oh, but is that where all my money's going? Right. Or,
Right.
and so, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. That's awesome input. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
All right.
Ladies, we are at the top of the hour.
Wow.
wow.
It is 11:59.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Donna.
Yes, you're very welcome. And
here's your connection information.
yes,
that's great. So make sure you screenshot this page, and you'll have all that information. Or you can't highlight it, but screenshotting it's great. Then you'll have all Donna's information.
Or take a picture with your phone.
Yeah, take a picture with I never think about stuff.
Yeah.
I just screenshot.
Yeah. All righty. I will stop sharing. There we go.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much. That was a wealth of information. I'm sorry for everybody that missed it, but hey, thank goodness for the replays. And
yes,
we do have those wonderful replays. Donna, would you like to pray us out today?
I would love to. Thank you. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time, Lord God. We thank you for the technology that brings us close together. And even for those, Lord, who will watch this in replay, we thank you. Thank you that they're able to put that, on their schedule and get it done. And Lord, I just pray that the information today here has been a blessing in some way, that each one will walk away with that commitment and that belief that, yes, I could do that. I could do a small newsletter. I could do a small thing. And Father, I thank you for how you're going to use this information in your kingdom, how you're going to grow your kingdom And this is all about your kingdom, Lord, not about ours, not about mine, about yours. So Father, I pray now that you'd keep each one safe, and that you would just help Daughters United to reach out into the world, to change
Yes,
women's
Lord.
lives,
Yes,
to
Lord.
equip them and encourage them and elevate them, Lord God, for the kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mhm.
And
Amen.
amen. You know, I was just thinking about something that you talked about, you know, promoting other people's things,
Mhm.
newsletter. Um, hey, this this is an amazing thing to do because you can look at it as seed, sowing seed into the kingdom, right? You're
Right,
sowing
right,
seed, you're
right.
sowing seed, and you know, a harvest will come because that's the way the Lord
Mhm.
created the world to go.
That's
Yes.
right.
Seed time and harvest. So when you sow
That's
seed,
right.
you know, even somebody, you don't have to worry about it because it's going to come back to you multiplied. It always, seed always multiplies.
Mm.
That's
That's right.
just the way of the kingdom. And
Mhm.
so I love that because I know plenty of people that, you know, I can promote, and I do promote all the time. I'm promoting all the time. But hey, this is a good thing to for those of you that are watching the replay, just don't think of it as, oh well, I'm cutting my hand off spite of my foot, you know, because what you're doing is you're sowing seed into the kingdom, sowing
Mhm.
seed into someone else's life. And you just, you know, plant that seed. Lord, I'm sowing this, you know, because you've taught me to be a giver,
Mhm.
sower.
Mhm.
And Lord, I know that you're going to bring more seed as a harvest from sowing this and
That's
doing
right.
it. So
Amen.
I love that, Donna, that you shared, you know, just sowing that seed because we have to think all the time, what can we do to help someone else along their way? Because with the company that I worked in leadership with for 24 years, um, their big thing was when you help enough people get to where they want to get, you will automatically be there. And that's that whole seed time and harvest principle. When you help enough people, when you do enough for others, God will do the same thing multiplied for you. So thought
Amen.
end on blessings, everyone. I think that what a beautiful way to end this segment of
Amen.
Daughters United Mentor Monday. And thank you again, Donna, for sewing into everyone here.